Looking at this game tonight, wanted to ask you, when you go into a preseason game, how would you describe maybe it's the difference between the way that you approach, that you watch, you evaluate during one of these compared to maybe a game in the middle of January, something like that?
Well, it would be night and day. The first is, part of your job in a regular season or play, a meaningful game, let's say. The matchup is very, very important. And then you have to make the adjustments off the matchup that you thought was going to happen. So we all have a game plan. And then your best offensive line is getting shut down by the other team, or they're just not your best offensive line tonight. Somebody else is, and the line that you weren't worried about on the other team, now you are, or it's a decent. So there's a whole section of the game that I don't care about tonight. I'm not looking at that. And you would speak differently to players, be a little bit more mindful of their age. You get a first-year pro or a kid's going to junior and he makes an obvious mistake. I'm not going down and there'll be very little intensity in my voice. I mean, we're teaching is what we're doing. And then also you're completely flattening out the minutes, and your special teams aren't of a particular concern for you because you just don't have the personnel. Those are the main. We're teaching for sure. The result is of no interest, but you still get behind the bench and you're still in a game. I won't cut anybody back, but I would maybe start coaching in the last 10 minutes in terms of if we're down one, I'm going to see if I can find a hole on the other team and see if we can get one. But you want to win everything, right? But I would say that the foundation is we're teaching here, and especially the young players or the guys that who's some of the guys that are going to the American League. You haven't picked your team, but there's a band of guys that all know they're playing in the American League this year, or they're even trying out there. You're truly teaching them to kind of give them a leg up for the next camp they go to.
Now for a guy like Ubis, who we just talked to, we always know when guys come over at 21, 22 from Europe, it's an adjustment.
Right.
For a guy that's maybe in his late 20s, that's all he's known, he's played there for a while, is it a different sort of transition? Is it a little bit more ingrained in them? Is it maybe harder to make some adjustments?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't know. The ingrained part is true, but there's okay, so on one hand, you get a player who's played, especially if he's played in Europe only, right? That could be a challenge for him. He's played a certain way, then challenging it. But usually then he's a little bit older, so all of the things that the young player doesn't have to go through, he's already been through that, right? So he's usually a little stronger, not as timid sometimes to make a mistake. He's playing the game. He's played a bunch of pro games, so he's out there to play. I thought he's made a very quick adjustment from the start because all of the systems are different. The rink is a different size, and that changes everything. The attitude to how they play. So the North American game is a far more physical game, and it happens faster just because there's less ice to cover out there. So all his reads are off early. But I thought in the game in Carolina, he showed that he can make the adjustment, because he changed his game a little bit. And then you saw, I thought, some pretty veteran, savvy, but he wasn't worried about making a mistake, and because of that, he made a bunch of real good plays.
Any updates on Barkey or Benny?
All three, and Chucky didn't skate either. All three of them are good. We are really keying on Monday to full go. So they probably all could have skated today, but we're going to make sure they're all fit. They're all good. They just worked their butts off for 8 days. We will do small groups with the NHL guys tomorrow and the next day, more skills-based to kind of come off them. And that's not because camp's getting easier. It's just every human has a threshold. I thought we got fairly close to that threshold here. So they need recovery days so that on Monday we can get back at it again and we can push back up into that kind of effort intensity column. So they're all good. There's nothing long-term here.
And you're planning on getting those guys into some of the games starting next week?
They will all play 2 of 3, and some of them will play 3 of 3. That's why this block of games is so important for these guys. And I understand, we got a home crowd, and they're going to come to the game tonight, and they're not going to get to see Barkov. There's a reason for it. I'm not resting them. I'm not going easy on them. What I'm doing is giving these guys a legitimate 3-game run, so they're not in and out on it. They get their games. We will go to probably 28 on Monday, hopefully 28 healthy, and that will allow for the 2 of 3. So the guys that get through it probably will get one more game to fight for that last job. But that's why these 3 games are really important. We go up and play in the Kraft Hockeyville game on Sunday. There won't be a lot of big names, but everybody in that lineup is going to be fighting for a job, so it's going to be real.
There are a couple guys who haven't shown up on a preseason roster yet in Wilmer Skoog and Riley Bezo. Are those guys going through something, or is there something more you want to see from those guys?
One of the two for sure is playing on Sunday. I haven't told them yet, so I can't tell you first. And then not everybody's getting in an exhibition game. We are quite a bit more liberal in our approach to exhibition games. We get junior kids in there, and then we get them out of here. But with 59, I'm still not getting everybody in a game, so you're kind of not guaranteed it. Because we have this kind of unusual thing, we have the two injured defensemen, and then we have a couple of places in our top 12. But we have lots of people trying to fill those jobs. I got to get that job. So priority one is my NHL guys that are coming back that I know that's my number one priority. Priority two is give an opportunity for everybody to win a job. And then priority three is the experience. Just I want everybody to have learned something, have every one of those guys, every one of those junior kids went back to his junior team and said they've never been anything like that in their life, but they had a great camp. That's the third priority. It's important. It is a priority. But it's NHL players first, tryout players second, and experiential players third.
If you have Dr. Talley, can you tell us which goalie's going to full 60 tonight?
I'm going to have to talk to my other assistant coach. I think I got Stolar's going the full 60 tonight.
First time
It was just confirmed by the other coach.
First time seeing him, obviously a ton of experience, a veteran guy, just the guy you probably know what you're going to see.
Yeah, so first time for you, we would have seen him in the NHL, and then I get 8 days of practice. And while I don't pay much attention to goalies, really big, really square, quite athletic. But he's been positionally very good. For an athlete, sometimes athletic guys they cover too much ice, but he's got a real nice balance, and he uses his size very well. He is athletic, but he doesn't overdo it. So I'm looking forward to it. He's handled the puck well. Real good guy. I think when you've met him, he's really big for a goalie, right? He's unusually large man, so I like that idea.
I wanted to ask you quickly about Kai Schwindt. To my understanding of the NHL-CHL agreement, he turns 20 before January 1st, so he's eligible to play in the AHL if he gets sent down. Would he be going back to Mississauga with roster moves, or would he be going to Charlotte?
That's an outstanding question, truly, and I'm not evading it, but I stay in my lane as to anything CBA. I don't know the answer to that question.
How important is it to have a guy like Alex True around these guys that were in Charlotte? Because he's a guy that they both have chemistry with from playing with him in Charlotte, and also he's a guy who's played NHL games.
Yeah, it's good for him and for the players around him. So you get to come to a camp and you've got a connection to people. It makes it easier. A big part of what new people do at training camp is they burn energy on the newness. So whether it's a kid coming up and it's all brand new and they don't sleep as well because they're nervous. So anything that can make a guy a little bit more comfortable is a good thing. But also, the more guys that are trying out for jobs that have played in the NHL, the better it is for our organization. Better it is for the coaches. We have more options, or competition is the word I was looking for. We've got a stronger competition at fourth line center, fourth line right wing. There's another hole with that, so there's probably three. I mean, I think I've got Ryan Lomberg's in our lineup. He's not trying out for the team, but there's probably 3 holes up front. There is potentially more room on the blue line, but if we just carry 13 and 7, then there's some jobs open.
Is that something that's kind of fluid as far as like how big of a roster you're going to end up keeping?
Yeah, but we, like a number of teams, are cap teams. So there has to be some thought put into where we're on the day before the season, where we are on the day after the roster goes in. So I don't deal with that, and I don't have to. We will have, I don't even say input. We sit down, we all talk about what we see. So we talk about this stuff. We meet every single day about where guys are at. The players that deserve to make our team will make our team, and then we'll work from that.
Thank you.
Thank you.